G'day YouTube, it's your mad mate Yorick. Back on another beautiful day in May. It's hard to believe we're coming into winter. Yet here we are. Oh, that was a little bit of a dookie. So, what's rattling through my head today? Well, climate change. Climate change. But not as most people would think. In fact, I don't even know whether anybody else is thinking about it the way I am right now. And that is, I know we've got all these kids protesting, they have their school strikes for climate change, and we've got, I can't even remember her name, some young Swedish girl that's become the poster child for telling the grown-ups that actually run the world how to suck eggs and do their job. But here's what I'm thinking. Whilst we in the West now simply encourage our spoiled brat children to stand on the steps of their respective parliaments and carry on like two bob watches, and to label anyone that disagrees with them or has an alternate sort of outlook as a bigot, racist, xenophobe, homophobe, Islamophobe, climate change denier, there is actually a government that's done something about it, whether they know it or not. You know, most of what happens is really, it's the law of unintended consequences. And here's where I'm going with it. I reckon the Chinese government has simply solved the climate change challenges for the Chinese people. And think about it, bear with me on this. The Chinese government over the last, I don't know, 2 decades, 3 decades, maybe longer, sorry, I'm just mucking around the gears here, maybe even longer, has been buying up farming land all over the world, wherever it possibly could. It's done deals with countries that I reckon it knew couldn't make the repayments when it loaned them the money to build ports and all sorts of infrastructure that allow more goods in and more goods out. So, with climate change inevitable, according to one young American politician, what is she? She's not a senator, she's in the House, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. 12 years, that's it. We've got 12 years before you may as well just draw the blinds, turn off the lights, go to sleep and hope you never wake up. Because what the Chinese government has done by acquiring land all over the world and by buying up assets or obtaining assets that allow for the transport of enough food to feed 1 billion plus people, climate change won't matter to them. You know, it's just not going to make a difference. Their people will still be fed. And this whole thing, you know, what are the real challenges we face due to climate change? I mean, there have been times when the planet has been warmer, and there was a truckload of life during those times. And why should we be concerned about rises in CO2 levels when CO2 actually promotes plant growth? Therefore, we should be able to produce more abundant crops. And I reckon it's more about the fact that if we go back 10,000 years, when the weather turned to crap, we'd all just look at each other and go, buffaloes are going that way. If we go that way, we'll still have buffalo to eat. But we can't do that these days because we've built this entire financial industrial complex that keeps you hogtied to the house that you're making mortgage repayments on or paying rent on, and cars that you're making finance repayments on, and a job that you need to have so that you can pay for the stuff that other people produce because you're no longer capable of producing it yourself. So you can't just get up and move. And because we have sovereign nations that don't have open borders, much to the chagrin of many Democrats in the United States and Greens voters in Australia and other people all over the world, you know, we have sovereign nations. So you can't just move freely and go wherever you want to go and where the food is abundant and all that sort of stuff. Because let's be honest, even when the climate changes, it's going to rain somewhere. So here's where the Chinese are really clever. It's going to rain somewhere. So if you own land everywhere, you're going to be able to feed your people. It's that simple. Meanwhile, we have parents signing permission slips for their children to hold up placards with well-meaning platitudes and no idea what's really going on behind it. You realise you've just come into my lane. Well, actually, no, I don't think they have. If they had realised that, they wouldn't have come into my lane. And I've had a chat to a lot of these parents because my kids don't get involved in this sort of protest action because they have been told that if they leave school before 3:30 on a Friday afternoon, unless it's because I'm picking them up for some reason or they've had to be transported to a hospital, they're staying in school. So you ask people, why let your kids do that? Or, well, you know, it's important for them to learn to express themselves and stand up for what they believe in. Well, the first part of that, it's important for kids to learn how to express themselves. Yes it is. But are they doing that by taking part in a mass protest that has more of a party atmosphere than an actual serious debate? Because I thought that's what debating teams and just debating exercises in classes were all about. You know, so children do learn to develop cogent, logical arguments on issues, whether they agree or disagree. But it teaches them to balance an argument, to weigh up one side against the others, the fors and against, the pros and the conses. That was incorrect, the pros and the cons. Yet, because some Swedish girl with very supportive parents with activist aspirations has been standing on the steps of her parliament for God knows how long every Friday afternoon, she has now become the poster child. And you know what, I find her quite scary. You know, when she stares down the barrel of a camera with a deadpan expression and just goes, "Change is coming." Sounds very Orwellian to me. And you know what? When you consider the last century, how many people promised change? How many people promised wide-swept structural social change? And a few names spring to mind. There's Pol Pot. There was Stalin. There was Mao. There was Hitler. Even a few years ago, a bloke by the name of Maduro. Have a look at what he's done to Venezuela. Great little country, as long as you don't have to eat or you want to turn your lights on. Every single one of these people has promised their populations wide sweeping change and wealth redistribution, so everyone's going to have the same, and The only thing that happened was that millions and millions of their own people had to be killed to achieve the great workers' utopia, and everybody left ended up living in abject misery. So that's where I'm at with climate change. Honestly, I think it's more about getting people to simply live their lives the way a bunch of bureaucrats want them to. Is climate change a conspiracy? No. No, climate change is very, very real. But we, in Australia at least, are certainly not up to meeting the challenges, because we're allowing ourselves to be served up a constant diet of distraction and misinformation. It has always been about political power, maintaining political power. It's always been about current governments making people feel good about themselves in spite of the fact, you know, it's going to warm up, it's going to rain in different places, you know, the tides will be different. Some islands will be swallowed up by the oceans, some islands will be exposed by the oceans. Things change. The only difference is we have evolved to the point where the vast majority of the population can no longer adapt to that change. I think I'd be alright. You know, I do the camping and four-wheel driving and fishing and whatever else. I could learn to hunt. I could do that. But so many people couldn't. So, what are you going to do? You know, well, there's a lot of Australians now say they want to emigrate to New Zealand. To which I say, send me your bank account details, I'll start the collection for you. Piss off. This is still, without a doubt, the most amazing country to live in. We seem to be dodging bullets on the social engineering front, which is fantastic. Sure, we've got our issues, but geez, nothing like the US, nothing like the UK, nothing like Europe. It is a wonderful spot. You know, you get to go to work, what, a week and a half before winter, and it's 20 degrees out, not a cloud in the sky. It is just glorious to be in Melbourne, Australia. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Hey, if you think I'm an absolute crackpot, that's fine. Let me know. I'm happy to have anything I put up here or have ever said in discussions with anyone to be disproven. But the rules of the game are pretty simple. You can only disprove me by using facts, logic and reasoning. You cannot disprove anything by labelling me. Until next time.